You're listening to the Wrestlebread podcast.
Yowie wowie! With one beer, 2 beers.
You just went Austin 360 meets Pillman. Oh my God.
Tony?
Yeah.
Cut the shit.
How many red carpets you guys want to walk in your $4,000 ridiculous heels? You will never be able to lace up my Chuck Taylors.
This is your fault. This is your fault.
I didn't get mad when you stole all my moves.
Your daddy's not here anymore.
How was your movie, by the way? I missed it.
Mine went straight to DVD, just like yours.
Careful you don't hurt your neck again going through those ropes.
And the spirit of Ultimate Warrior will run forever.
You're listening to the Wrestlebread podcast. What's going on, guys? This is Jaydee, and this is episode 175 of the Wrestlebread podcast. So we had a lot that has happened this past week. We just had the Elimination Chamber. Now we are working towards AEW Revolution. We are in the middle of WrestleMania season, and we are also going through NXT as well. I didn't watch any NXT this week, so I don't really have a lot to go over. I did hear about a little snippet that's going on with NXT, that apparently maybe Shawn Michaels may be coming out of retirement. Who knows? Or maybe somebody's going to fight for him, because Grayson Waller has been having problems with Shawn Michaels, believing that there is a great conspiracy that Shawn Michaels is trying to keep him down and put, plants in the audience to boo him and stuff like that. So we shall see what happens. I know that they have a special episode of NXT coming up, and they're working towards, I believe it's Stand and Deliver that's happening during WrestleMania weekend, but I'm not 100% sure. So let's just get into everything. So first of all, I am slightly sad that the NFL season is over. We do have the XFL. I didn't get a chance to watch the opening season this past week. I know that there is a game going on Thursday. I'll probably catch the weekend games. I'm hearing good things about the XFL, which I'm very happy about. I watched when it first came out way back in 2001, and then I watched the reboot, and now we have this going. Also, we got the Phillies are going through spring training this weekend. I'm a big Phillies fan. Normally I go to the opening game weekend. When this year, opening weekend is on my birthday weekend, so I plan to go to a Phillies game on my birthday. Hopefully they knock out a win for me, of course. They are the conference champions, short of being World Series champions, but I'm proud of them nevertheless. As far as basketball, like I said before, I don't follow the Sixers that much. The last time I seriously watched basketball like that was when Allen Iverson was playing. So that really tells you something. Now I do know some of the people that are on the Sixers, so when I decide to jump on the bandwagon, if they start making a playoff run, like what happens in Philly, whenever a team gets a playoff run, all of a sudden we jump on the bandwagon. We, were hardcore fans at that point. I mean, look at, with the Flyers, with the Sixers, even Phillies. There's a lot of Eagles fans who are not Phillies fans who became Phillies fans because the Phillies were in the playoffs. So, even though NFL the Sundays are a little clearer nowadays, but we have more sports that's coming along, and of course, warmer weather. Very weird. It was 70 degrees today, and yesterday it was 40 degrees. Tomorrow, this weekend is supposed to be cold as well. So, I feel for those who live over on the west side of the U.S. that has to deal with snow and shoveling out snow and stuff like that. Luckily, this winter season in Philly, we didn't have a really bad winter. It's been cold, but not cold, snow that we got to shovel and stuff like that. I'm not complaining too much. I like snow. I just don't like what comes with snow, which is the ice, and people don't know how to drive and things like that. So I'm not complaining too much that, we didn't have a bad winter. But I'm hoping that does not mean we're going to have a very hot summer. Because I don't like it when it's extremely cold. And I don't really like when it's extremely hot in Philly because it gets very humid. Instead of like you can escape from the sun, just sit in the shade and drink some water. In other places in Philly, for whatever reason, it gets like so damn humid that like you can't breathe. So, and then of course the electric bill goes up because you're sitting there running your AC. Anyway, I'm going off on a bit of a tangent. So let's just circle back to some wrestling. So a couple of news that I'm going to talk about. Of course, everything you could take with a grain of salt because as we have seen over and over again, you can't really trust everything that you read from these dirt sheets. But congrats to The Miz, who, knocked in a half-court shot during the Celebrity All-Star game. Unfortunately, it did not count. But the fact that he did the half-court shot and it went through, kudos to him. Like, you could talk shit all you want for the rest of the year off of that one. Also, Sasha Banks, she just did a match over with New Japan. She has been filming a bit of a docuseries about her time in New Japan, including her meeting Kenny Omega face to face when they were over in Japan. I believe it was 2 months ago. And then congratulations to Sonya Deville and fitness model Tony Cassano. I think that's how you pronounce her last name. They are engaged to be married. Sonya had proposed to Tony this past week, and then come to find out, Tony has been carrying a ring in her purse because she wanted to propose. She wanted Sonya to have a ring as well when they get engaged. So I thought that was cute. Also, John Cena is coming in March, so we'll see what WWE has plans for him as far as with WrestleMania. Apparently, he should be going against Austin Theory. I'll go into more details about the potential matchup between Austin Theory and John Cena. Of course, that has been rumored for a couple of months now. It really doesn't need a title, but once I get through the Elimination Chamber review, I'll go into more detail about the potential match between Austin Theory and John Cena. As we know, Vince McMahon is trying to sell WWE. Allegedly, the asking price he is looking for is $9 billion. And because of that price, so far as of right now, Saudi Arabia is one of the few potential buyers that may be willing to meet that asking price. Which, whoa, I didn't expect the asking price to be $9 billion. I guess, you'll get it. I guess, the thinking is you'll get it back with the extensive library that WWE has included. And then you have the TV deals and stuff like that as well. And I'm not sure how much more time is left on that 10-year deal that they have with Saudi. I'm guessing, you'll recoup that money back with that yearly deal as well. Now, getting into some more details. As you may have known, we just had the New Japan, I believe it's called Battle of the Valley, where we had Jay White going against Eddie Kingston, the stipulation being the loser would leave New Japan and cannot face a New Japan wrestler in the ring. So I was a little confused because I did hear that Jay White had lost the match over in Japan, that loser would leave New Japan. And then Jay White mentioned he would be going to New Japan Strong, which is the US based of New Japan. And then he went against Eddie Kingston. I didn't even realize that the stipulation was loser leaves New Japan. And so with that, Jay White had lost. So of course, a lot of people are going crazy because it looks like Jay White is going to be a free agent. Allegedly, according to the dirt sheets, WWE has been looking into him, and they also been looking into a bigger name than Jay White. I'm guessing to try to get Jay White and this bigger name, which happens to be Kenny Omega. And there's some rumors that Kenny's contract is expired. There is the option to extend his contract. Allegedly, Kenny is on good terms with WWE, and this is according to Fightful Select. He is on good terms with WWE, which kind of makes sense because he does have friends at WWE. He plays video games regularly with the New Day. Apparently his contract is rumored to be expiring. However, Tony Khan can add time to Kenny Omega's contract because Omega missed about 9 months due to his injury. And in wording, according is that Tony Khan hasn't made that decision. But I thought and I found that kind of funny that Tony Khan could potentially add time to Kenny Omega's contract if Kenny Omega decides not to renew the contract. And I was like, that really sounds, if he goes through with that, that'll be very hilarious, first of all, because you're contradicting things that you're arguing about, and you're doing the same actions against the company that you allegedly are going to war against and who you apparently hate. Well, he says the companies hate each other, so you're the CEO, so I'm guessing that includes you as well. But I find it very interesting that you have a wrestler who may not want to work with your company anymore, is letting the contract expire, and you decided, no, I don't want you to leave. I'm going to add time to your contract because you were injured. It's pretty much the same thing that has happened with Brody Lee. Now, Kenny Omega didn't come out and say, made a big thing on social media that he is ready to leave, that he has been working and things like that, putting on some pretty good matches, and he's just letting the contract expire. And then, it's potential that they may add more time to the contract, which very, very interesting, I must say. So speaking of AEW, let's get into some things that has happened this week with AEW Dynamite. Of course, the biggest thing was the rumored announcement from Tony Khan. People believe that he was doing this because of the low ratings that happened this past last week between Dynamite and Rampage. I believe it's Rampage's lowest viewership and Dynamite's lowest viewership this year as well. And after that, not too long after that, there was the announcement that Tony Khan was going to make, which they did. Actually, it wasn't even Tony Khan who made the announcement. It was actually Adam Cole. So not only is Adam Cole announcing that he is back, baby, but AEW is now bringing a show called AEW All Access. So I'm going to read a little bit of the press release that they came out. They said this new series, which was just announced during another red hot episode of AEW Dynamite, red hot episode, is supposed to premiere this March. It's supposed to be a behind the scenes experience that features Adam Cole, Britt Baker, Sammy Guevara, Tay Conti, the Young Bucks, Saraya, Wardlow, and Eddie Kingston, along with Tony Khan. Now, just off of Eddie Kingston being in this, I might just watch this. If you never seen Eddie Kingston, do his thing, besides Dynamite, of course, Eddie Kingston is so good on the mic, and he's very captivating when he speaks. Look up him cutting a promo on Sour Patch Kids and cutting a promo on a cookie. Now, I first seen Eddie Kingston in NWA when I was watching it at the time, and I was just like, yo, he sounds just so real. I can definitely see him as one of the old heads around the way. They sit there and is cool with everybody and make sure, if somebody's messing around with you or something like that, that's who you would go to, and he'll just take care of things. So I may check this out. The thing is, though, this is supposed to air after Dynamite, but I'm guessing this series is happening because originally Cody's show, I think it was Rose to the Top, that's what it was called, actually had a second season, and because Cody left, there is no second season. So I'm guessing this had happened to be put in place of the lost second season that TBS had contracted with Tony Khan. So I guess instead of, missing out on the opportunity because there is no Cody Rhodes to do Rhodes to the Top, they decided to do this where they follow everyone. So they saying that, so what I thought it was and what it actually is two different things. So I thought this was like a docuseries, very similar to what WWE does with like the 24 and things like that, where you follow people along backstage and stuff. And, you know, maybe there's a bit of a sit down where they talk stories and things like that. You know, something more detailed so that you get to know these wrestlers and connect to them a little more. But then this press release says each episode will showcase AEW stars as they navigate the week-to-week challenges to remain at the top, and will track the rivalries between talent as they vie for fans' attention. Over the course of the series, viewers will get the chance to follow the contentious lead-up to AEW major events and matches. AEW All Access will complement TBS and TNT's portfolio of, Dynamite and Rampage. Interesting line I thought I would say to everyone. AEW has such an amazingly loyal and dedicated fan base that brings in more than 4 million viewers to TBS every night. And this was said by John Sarlanis, president of Turner Networks, ID, and HLN, Linear and Streaming. And I was like, 4 million viewers every Wednesday night? I don't know where they got this number from. I have no idea where they got 4 million people from. I'm guessing that they're adding people. Like on a good month, they're adding that is 4 million people who watch within a month. But they're saying every Wednesday night. So, I don't know where they got 4 million people from, but, hey, I guess. But so this is supposed to air after Dynamite, which makes Dynamite technically a 3-hour show. Because at first I was like, well, why couldn't they just make the show, Ring of Honor, or make that Rampage or something? Because instead of like this reality series. But I guess, like I said, then I figured, okay, I guess it's because the whole Cody show isn't having a season 2. But then I'm like, now we have another 3-hour thing on a Wednesday if you're trying to watch it live. Now, very similar to some of the shows that WWE used to put out, like Ms. and Mrs. and Total Divas and all that other stuff. I normally caught those at a totally different time. A lot of times I just wait until it shows up on a network or YouTube and watch it there. So I'm very interested to see how this will play out as far as the viewership. If people are actually going to tune in for that 3rd hour and watch All Access. Be very interesting if fans do, because if fans do actually tune in for this whole All Access, that really gives an indicator that AEW could open up a 3rd hour and, adds a little bit more wrestling, especially for a lot of the wrestlers that really don't get to be featured during the original 2 hours of Dynamite. Now, for me, 3 hours is a lot. There's a reason why I don't want Rampage as is, because that makes Fridays a 3-hour show. And I think I mentioned this in the last episode. It's hard enough to watch Raw for all 3 hours from time to time. Sometimes Raw is really good. Those 3 hours go by pretty quickly. There are times where Raw is on as like background noise as I'm doing something else. And then I'll like pay attention if there's a match that's going on or if there's a promo of a wrestler that I really wanted to see. But other than that, it's like 3 hours is definitely a long ass time. But I'm interested to see how it goes. Now I'll definitely check it out. I don't know if I'll check it out live. Maybe I'll check it out live for the first episode to like gauge if it's worth like really kind of like tuning in all the damn time. But like I said, mainly for Eddie Kingston, because I'm a big fan of Eddie Kingston, I'll check it out to see what it is. But if I don't feel it, then I just don't feel it. We had it was an interesting episode of AEW Dynamite. I wouldn't call it red hot like it was saying on the press release, but it had its good moments. It had some of its bad moments. So we started off with Orange Cassidy going against Wheeler Yuta. Pretty good match, pretty good opening match. The part where we had a bit of a standoff with Wheeler Yuta, he spat at Orange Cassidy and actually spat his gum that landed on Cassidy's forehead, which I don't think I ever seen that before. I've seen people spit on their opponents, but to spit your gum on someone and it landed on the forehead, so it like shows that like, yo, he actually did spit on him, that was like a whole other thing. Second of all, of course, everyone loves the Acclaim. The Acclaimed is like the most over thing going on in AEW right now. I still understand why they lost the titles. I'm guessing the Gun Club is going to be the temporary placement holder of the titles until either FTR or who knows who wins the titles. But their rap this past week was pretty good. I did pop at the line where Max Caster told Big Bill or Big Will, I forgot what his actual name is, that your girl called me and she told me that you're SAWTY, soft, which I thought, that popped me, of course. No, why, no, SAWFT, why salty? No, what? SAWFT, soft. So, wow. It's definitely been a moment since we spelled that word out. So, forgive me for definitely forgetting how to spell soft the way that Enzo and Cass spelled it. And then, of course, Stokely Hathaway is hilarious. He got injured with his wrist, so he's wearing a cast on his wrist, and I don't know if it was on there, but they showed a still because of the matchup that was coming up, and it says the word justice on the cast, which I was cracking up at. Christian, I really like Christian AEW, this like heel that he is right now. He like really gives me like anime villain vibes. If you you gotta watch it to know what I mean. But I really like his heel work. Like, he is just really like going off, like letting it all, like the heel that he always wanted to be. And he looks younger than Edge. Now I forgot how like the if there's an age difference between him and Edge, but Christian looks pretty good. He looks pretty good. Look a little dapper and stuff. Now, as far as the outworking everyone, there is one person he is not outworking, which I will talk about in the Elimination Chamber later on. Actually, maybe two people that he may not be outworking. But Christian is pretty good, though, as a villain. I am slightly tired of him versus Jungle Boy, but I'm guessing we have to finish out this feud since Christian was injured for a bit there. But gosh, he does pretty good heel work. Then we had the MJF promo. A lot of people were saying that was a pretty good promo and everything. Now, if we just isolated this promo, I would say it was pretty good. However, in my opinion, I feel as though it was a bit misplaced with this feud. He talked about how he wanted to marry the girl and she broke his heart, and how he wanted to settle down with her and have kids and stuff like that. And he like wanted, the title is basically like was keeping him alive, and things like that, and that's his motivation for everything. And I'm like, wait a minute, I'm confused as to if we're supposed to hate him. Am I supposed to feel sorry for him? Because I was like, I thought the whole thing about it that you wanted to win the title so you can have the bidding war of 2024, that you were looking to join your boy Cody and, have your boss be named Papa H instead of Tony, and that you were looking for the bidding war between Tony Khan and Triple H. Because he kept dropping WWE stuff all the time. So I didn't understand where the switch was. Maybe I missed it. But I didn't see it. It just feels like his goals and reasons for keeping the title and wanting to keep the title is kind of like all over the place. Like, I was confused. Like I said, I was confused at what the story, because last week we had the story of the girl that he got into a car crash and he used the girl to take the fall for him for the car crash. And now we have the girl who, you know, he wanted to marry, but she broke his heart. And I was like, okay, how long ago did this happen to? Like, did this just happen? Allegedly, this is in parallel with real life because he and apparently he has a fiance who they recently broke up. So that could have been it, but I don't know. Like, I was pretty confused. I feel as though, like I said, his promos are pretty good, but it's just like, it's a bit all over the place right now as far as like the focus of where things go. And, you know, why are we doing this feud? Maybe they'll clean it up. And then we had Evil Uno going against Jon Moxley. This is a bit of a setup to further the feud between Jon Moxley and Hangman Page. You know, there is something that has been booked constantly in AEW, and that's the whole, in order to fight me, you have to fight my friends. It just feels like a Spice Girls song. You know, if you want to be my lover, you got to get with my friends. If you want to fight me in the ring, you have to fight my friends. And we've seen it with Ricky Starks. We've seen it with, not really friends in this instant, with Bryan Danielson. And we kind of had it a bit with Jon Moxley, where Evil Uno, where Evil Uno had put himself out there to go against Jon Moxley in honor of Hangman Page. And I don't know, it just feels like sometimes I've seen that we tend to book the same type of stories over and over again. Another thing, speaking of that, the storyline that I am hating on, I know hate is a very strong word, but that's exactly how I feel. And that's this whole situation with Saraya and Toni Storm. This whole 2023 NWO thing that we were doing here with the spray paint and everything. Like, I get what they're trying to do, you know, because they came from WWE, and it's like, you know, the originals are like, hey, you are here because of us. The reason why you wanted to be here is because of us, which I get. I don't like the fact that it feels like a knockoff version of NWO. And I wish they could have done it better. Like, I'm happy that the women are getting a bit of a spotlight and they're getting a storyline here. But it's like, come on, dude. It really brings me back to when we had, I believe the match was Deonna Purrazzo and Mercedes Martinez. They had main evented Dynamite. But the setup of it was so poorly done that the match really wasn't given the proper setup that it did. Because people who don't really watch Impact and other promotions wouldn't know who Deonna Purrazzo is and how, like, good she is and how, like, you really should know who she is and, you know, be excited for this feud. And then they really didn't do a great job as far as booking Mercedes Martinez. And so you don't really feel anything for the feud for this match here in order for it to be special enough for it to be a main event. And I feel the same way here. It's like the women are given the shot, but it's so poorly done that the crowd isn't going to really react to it. And I feel like because the crowd isn't going to react to it, then it's going to be like, well, what's the point of doing all this with the women if that's how the crowd reacts? And it's like, no, we're reacting to this because you're not booking this properly. This feud between Jamie Hayter and Britt Baker versus Saraya and Toni Storm could have been done like 20 times better. Especially the fact you got Britt Baker in here. Like, Britt Baker was like your most popular female wrestler at a certain point. Like, she was booked on Dynamite every single week. Whether it was just her backstage or her just cutting a damn promo in the ring. She was booked very heavily. And now it just feels like she's just there in the background. Like, she feels like one of the damn baddies with Jade Cargill. And I'm not really understanding what's going on. I'm hoping that maybe we'll, get things together. Especially the fact that we have a pay-per-view in about 2 weeks that we should like kind of like get things together. I feel like because AEW don't really have a WrestleMania equivalent, that there isn't like a, you know how WrestleMania is a bit of like the top of the hill. Like all storylines reach an end at this point. And it feels like a reset. And the booking around WrestleMania time is very strong. And I don't feel that we have something like that with AEW. Like, even if you say, okay, the points will be every pay-per-view, since the pay-per-views are every 4 months, it doesn't even feel like that, because it feels like these matches, these feuds, aren't going to come to a point, especially the fact that we're 2 weeks away from the next pay-per-view. And then if the feud isn't finished at this pay-per-view, are they going to build it out until the following pay-per-view, which would be Double or Nothing in a couple of months? Who knows? But overall, it was an okay episode of Dynamite. The opening match with Cassie and Wheeler Yuta was pretty good. Everyone loves the Acclaim. We also had the tag team tournament that was won by Jeff Jarrett and Jay Lethal, which I was fine with. I was fine with that. I was a little salty that the Lucha Bros were eliminated. As everyone know, I'm a big fan of the Lucha Bros. I don't know where we're gonna go with this match, but as we get closer to Revolution, I'll give my predictions there, and I'll air out my frustrations that there is no Lucha Bros. I guess it depends on who will be the final team in this match. So as I said, we had the Battle in the Valley where Jay White lost. It seems like we even have a new leader with the Bullet Club, which maybe David Finlay, I believe. Who knows? I'm not 100% sure. I felt like there was someone else too that could have been taken over. It'll be very crazy if WWE is able to get Jay White and Kenny Omega. Like, if WWE is like, people need to understand, if WWE is able to get Jay White and Kenny Omega, that means all 4 leaders of the Bullet Club will be in WWE at the same time. Like, that's strong ass negotiation skills there. Because because if you're wrestling in WWE, you're wrestling like 200, 300 days of year. And you convince these people who have wrestled, very popular in the quote unquote indies. You even have one who is actually a vice president of your rival company. And you're able to convince him, and you're able to convince Jay White to come to your company at the same time with AJ Styles and Finn Bálor still there. I'm hoping that there is like some type of fatal 4-way with these 4 if WWE. Like, I will write letters to fucking Papa H if they sign them and say, yo, I need SummerSlam this fatal 4-way between these 4 guys. I don't give a damn if you just put it together last minute. Even though I would love to see the build for it. I think the build for it would be great. But I would love to see these 4 in a fatal 4-way. Especially the fact, well, maybe not SummerSlam because AJ Styles is injured. But I would love to see these 4 in a fatal 4-way. Especially the fact that AJ Styles is like getting closer to the retirement years. AJ Styles can still go. And I would love to see a match between these 4. Now, we also had Sasha Banks wrestled as well. It was a pretty good match with Sasha Banks and Kairi. She wore gear that was in tribute to Hana Kimura, which of course was a Japanese wrestler who unfortunately had committed suicide due to bullying. I thought that was very great. I loved her gear. And it was a good match between those two. I didn't really see too many people complain about it. Truthfully, I watched Battle in the Valley a couple of days after it aired, so I didn't really see too much going on Twitter. But people have to understand, Sasha Banks was pretty much she was in the indies for a bit before she went to WWE, but as far as like the character and who she is today is because of WWE and the training. So it may take a little bit for her to be able to shed that, the WWE-ness of her character. Because she still kind of cut promos as if she's back in WWE. She did a few new things as far as wrestling, because now she doesn't have to wrestle that like WWE style. She was able to, put out a couple of lucha moves and stuff like that. So it's going to take a while for her to really figure out, like, for her to separate Merecedes Mone from Sasha Banks, because that's who she was. I mean, she talked about it a lot of times. Like, she mentioned how she never saw her real hair because she was Sasha Banks like 24/7. And so it's going with someone who had to deal with that you're a character all the time, that you rarely had separation for who you are from that character. It's going to take a little bit for her to be able to shed that Sasha Banks character. Hopefully for her, she'll be able, by the third match that she has, maybe it'll be cleared up. Truthfully, she's been with WWE so long, it could take like a year or two for her to like step away from anything that makes you think of Sasha Banks, truthfully. But overall, I didn't really take a lot of notes of the Battle of the Valley because I didn't know a lot of the people. Like, I knew some of the wrestlers that wrestled during that, but I didn't take any notes because I just really wanted to watch it to really take in the rest and everything. Overall, it was a pretty good show. The Sasha Banks match was pretty good. The Jay White versus Eddie Kingston, I don't know. I've seen Jay White wrestle better matches. Eddie Kingston has really a certain style of wrestling that I felt like Jay White had to like change his moveset in order to wrestle Eddie Kingston, instead of the two of them kind of like combining their wrestle styles. When you have, like, for example, a giant and a high flyer, the high flyer will do some high flying stuff, and then you'll see like the big guy kind of like, take his moveset and mesh it with the high flyer so that you see some unique spots and stuff like that. I felt like we didn't really get that with Jay White versus Eddie Kingston. So getting into Elimination Chamber. So I'll get into Elimination Chamber and I'll, kind of go back and forth with what happened with Raw as well. So I did check out Elimination Chamber. I watched it with a watch along. Shout out to what will be called the Bloodline Entertainment Network with Clark Street Wrestling Podcast, Circle of Debate, Top Rope Wrestling, Talk, Tim King Show, and the Universal Podcast. So shout out to them and congratulations to them on this new venture that they're heading. I did watch the watch along with them. Anytime you watch something with other people, it makes like the show like 20 times better. Getting into a little bit of things before I get into the matches. I did like the little vignettes they were showing Bianca, Liv Morgan, and Cody, kind of to keep them in the conversation, even though they're like not really like, well, Liv Morgan, but even though like Cody and Bianca weren't really featured on WWE, but because you have a bigger audience watching this pay-per-view, it kind of like, hey, check out our champion here, Bianca Belair. I thought that was pretty cool. So, of course, we have to get into... Now, I'm not going into what happened on SmackDown because things kind of tie in with the Elimination Chamber. But when they were in Canada, we had a bit of a guest who was a correspondent who stood in the crowds, which it kind of took me back. I forgot his name, but he stood in the crowd and stuff like that. He mistakenly called Jeff Hardy Jeff Harvey. I really didn't understand why we had him in the crowds. I guess is to show off, like, hey, look who we are working with, guys. And it was Ariel Helwani, Mr. Non-biased journalism. So I jokingly had called him a traitor, because of course Tony Khan got fucking pissed off, and I'll get into that in a moment. And then they showed Ariel Helwani during the Elimination Chamber, and Michael Cole said, and I quote, "The unbiased," he emphasized unbiased, "journalist Ariel Helwani, who asks all the important questions, whether you want to answer them or not." So I don't know if this came from Michael Cole specifically, or if that was told in his ear by Papa H or someone, because, W and AEW are at a war, they hate each other, and Ariel Helwani seems to be in the middle of it all. So Tony Khan made a tweet. I don't have the tweet pulled up, but basically he basically said how he's not a biased journalist or something like that, or a traitor, I don't know. And then he said, "You are as good as a journalist than Tony Schiavone," and tagged Tony Schiavone. Now the thing is, he tweeted this out, and when I'll put it this way. You know how your boss may say something and you're unsure if they're joking or not? That's how I felt with this tweet, because I'm like, because it's Tony Khan. It's like, are you saying this as an angry CEO or are you saying this as a fan? I thought it was funny because he tweeted this out. Obviously, you're watching SmackDown. I'm like, I thought that AEW and WWE are at war and that you guys hate each other. Why are you tweeting about something that's happening with SmackDown? Obviously, you're watching it. So it's like, are you hate watching it or what? And then it kind of like went weird from there. Like Ariel Helwani called him a snowman or something like that. And then, of course, people went on from there. I thought that was interesting that we had Ariel Helwani. And I watched his interview with Tony Khan. I watched a little bit that he had with Triple H. And like I said, he mentioned how, I appeared on there because they wanted me on there and they paid for it. And he said, "Hey, Tony Khan, I'll be on Dynamite if you pay for it," and stuff like that. And it's like, a lot, like, I feel like sometimes it just kind of gives me vibes. Like, if we put it to NFL, like, it's very similar to someone like Michael Irvin. Michael Irvin can give his opinion on NFL games until it comes to the Cowboys, and he'll go with the Cowboys every single time. It's very rare that he'll vote against the Cowboys. Sometimes he'll vote against the Cowboys to kind of do like the reverse psychology and say, I'm voting against the Cowboys, hoping that means that they will win. And I feel that way with a lot of the people that, are quote unquote wrestling journalists. Because like, if you sit here and say you are unbiased, but there are things that happen and suddenly you have a favorite promotion, or you have, you say better things about one promotion than the other, or you have a relationship with, a certain person, a co-CEO or a producer or something like that, so it's like, it's hard for me to be convinced that you are unbiased if your opinion could possibly be brought. Now, as far as me, I'm not a wrestling journalist. I will never be a wrestling journalist because my opinion could be brought, okay? I rarely go against Jade Cargill. I rarely go against Rhea Ripley. And I rarely go against Bianca Belair. When it comes to Cody Rhodes, yes, like I keep saying, I am the president of the Hater Club when it comes to Cody Rhodes. I am waiting for the minute where the fans are tired of him and start booing him like they did in AEW. And I'm waiting to see what that reaction will be. However, it could be that he's all fine and well because he really wanted to be champion and wanted his WrestleMania moment. And then if he turns heel from there, he probably won't give a damn because his pockets are full with money and he has a title around his belt. Who knows? But my point is that people can be broad as far as with their wrestling opinions. Like I always say, I take everything with these dirt sheets with a grain of salt because we're all fans. and there's not really a lot of unbiased journalism out there. So let's get into some matches, shall we? So we opened up with the women's Elimination Chamber, who will earn a match against Bianca Belair at WrestleMania 39. We had Carmella, Liv Morgan, Natalya, Nikki Cross, Raquel Rodriguez, and Asuka. So it was very difficult to think that, like I had said, I had Asuka winning. I wouldn't have mind Raquel Rodriguez, but it's like Natalya though, Carmella, Nikki Cross, maybe Liv Morgan, but I like Liv Morgan, but I felt as though Liv Morgan is not, let's go against Bianca Belair at WrestleMania type of situation here. No offense to those Liv Morgan fans, but I felt as though we had better options. Now, this was a pretty good showing from Asuka, of course, who was psychotic, which I love. And I was very surprised at the booking of this match because we had Carmella, who was last. I thought it would be Asuka and Raquel or Asuka and Liv as far as the last two people, but Liv Morgan was eliminated second. We had Nikki Cross eliminated first, and then we had Liv Morgan eliminated second, which I thought was a very cool elimination because Liv Morgan was in the sharpshooter from Natalya, and Asuka had her in a arm submission, and Liv Morgan had passed out, which I guess we could put it down that she had passed out, of course, from the arm bar as well, but that Natalya eliminated someone with the sharpshooter, so there is that. And then we had Natalya, who was eliminated. The crowd wasn't as unhappy with that one. And then it was Raquel Rodriguez who was eliminated, which I was a little surprised about. And then we had Carmella in there for a little bit. Of course, once Raquel was eliminated and we had Carmella left, I was like, ain't no way, we're going to have Asuka win. Nothing against Carmella, but wrestling wise, I didn't see it at all. It was like, okay, we're going to have Asuka here. The match was a bit clunky sometimes. There's an issue, and I keep saying this, that I had with some of these women's matches where the big spot happens, but it takes long for it to set up. So there was a spot with Liv Morgan where she did a power bomb. I believe she was on the top of a pot, and she went to do a power bomb on Raquel. However, it took a while for it to set up because Liv Morgan wanted to make sure that Raquel was ready for the spot. And you can clearly see what was happening. And it just took a little bit too long for it to set up. Bit of a complaint there. I just wish that some of these things can just get a little bit cleaned up. It's just not really sloppy, but choppy, I guess I should say. That the spots with these matches, there isn't a smooth transition. I don't know if it's confidence or we want to make sure our opponent is 100%, if there's nervousness or maybe doubt or something like that, or you really don't want to mess it up because motherfucking Twitter and social media tends to blow up whenever a woman does a botch. But let Seth Rollins have a botch, fucking knee John Cena in the nose or something like that, nobody bats an eye. So now we're going against the meatiest match of the night, and that was Brock Lesnar going against Bobby Lashley. I love Bobby Lashley's entrance. I wish that the entrance was really there and popping when I left my last job, because I definitely would have showed up at my job that I left the day that I was quitting, or the day I announced I was quitting. I wish I had stood on a chair, turned on Bobby Lashley's theme music, and just stand there with my arms folded and pump myself up and shit, and be when he points and stuff like that, and I'll just sit there and say, "I'm out, bitches." But, everybody can fantasize there. But yeah, this was, you would have thought it was a damn barbecue somewhere, because this match had a lot of meat. And I know that somewhere Big E was just, giddy, even though it wasn't Goldberg, but it was a lot of meat slapping meat, spears and F5s and spears. Only problem I have with this pay-per-view, really, was the finish of this. I get that we want to continue this feud to WrestleMania. It just feels like a lot of times with some of the WWE's pay-per-view, and it used to be very consistent where we always had a non-finish or a DQ finish that happens with these pay-per-views. And this was the match. And it was a little confusing because it was Brock Lesnar who caused the DQ. Bobby Lashley had him in a hurt lock, and then Brock Lesnar just did a low blow and got DQ'd. And then he F5'd the ref, and he started attacking Bobby Lashley and stuff. And I felt like it really didn't line up too much with the way that this feud was set up and with Brock Lesnar. Because it was like Brock Lesnar was the one who came out and whooped Bobby Lashley's ass. Like, Bobby Lashley was over here trying to win the fucking United States title, even though it's the wrong title for him to go after. And then here comes Cowboy Brock Lesnar, fresh off the farm, and then comes and beats up Bobby Lashley. Then starts cutting promos about how, he be with his wife, and then 4 hours later, he's still thinking about Bobby Lashley and stuff like that. And then you do a low blow out of nowhere. Like, what I wished would have happened was, okay, so Brock Lesnar is in the hurt lock or whatever. It's fucking Brock Lesnar. Like, why couldn't we have, like, Brock Lesnar, like, power through or something like that? Or even, like, have Bobby try to lock it in, but, he didn't get it locked in all the way. And then just have Brock Lesnar snap. Like, have Bobby Lashley, like, slap the shit out of Brock Lesnar or something. And then have Brock Lesnar snap. And he's just fucking him up. And he ignores the 5 count. And then he gets, DQ'd from that. And then he attacks the ref. And stuff like that. Like, why couldn't we do it that way instead of, just the low blow clearly in front of the ref? I was a little confused about that. But I understood why we're doing this, because we want the match to happen at WrestleMania. But now there's this alleged rumor that it could be Bobby versus Bray Wyatt at WrestleMania, and then Brock Lesnar versus Omos at WrestleMania. And I'm sitting here like, yo, who put in the fucking suggestion box for Brock Lesnar to go against Omos? I just want to know who. Like, please tweet yourself out and just say, hey, I'm the one that put in the suggestion box for WrestleMania. It should be Brock Lesnar versus Omos. And then it was a bit out of left field too for Bray Wyatt to say, hey, I want to go against the winner of Bobby Lashley and Brock Lesnar. And I'm like, where the fuck is this coming from? Like, is that, like, are we, like, phoning things in? Like, did something happen that all of a sudden we're phoning in matches for WrestleMania? Did someone pull up the whole roster and say, hey, you know what? The best that we can do right now is for Bray Wyatt to go against Bobby Lashley and for Brock Lesnar to go against Omos. Like, I guess for Brock Lesnar and Omos, we are trying to go for, like, who's the biggest person? Like, who causes the more fear against people? Like I'm very confused as to, like, what's going on with that. And then with Bray Wyatt and Bobby Lashley, like, I don't understand it either. And I don't understand why Bray Wyatt just said he's going against Bobby Lashley and Brock Lesnar. Like, I swear we could have did something better here. Like, we could have had him go after, if we're trying to do, like, something safe or something, we could have had him, like, go after The Miz a bit and then let that coincide with Bronson Reed. I feel like we could have done something better. Because Bobby Lashley is liked. So, with Bobby Lashley going against Bray Wyatt, that would kind of turn Bray Wyatt heel. Unless Bobby Lashley the one who turns heel. Which I don't see, seeing as though Brock Lesnar was the one that DQ'd in the match. So it's like now we're taking another step back for Bray Wyatt because he's going against someone else who is going to be cheered I guess we'll have to wait and see for SmackDown for there to be some type of explanation or where we're going to go with this. But I'm very sure if we pull up the roster of who should go against Bray Wyatt at WrestleMania, I'm very sure people would not have pointed to Bobby Lashley. But maybe they'll change my mind depending on what this story is going to be between those two. But yeah, I'm very confused. One thing that definitely popped me was the WrestleMania commercial. Because WrestleMania is back in Hollywood, we are bringing back the commercials from WrestleMania 21, where we had the, parodies done of popular movies and TV shows. So this time, we had Seth Rollins, who dressed up as the Joker, and he was dancing down the stairs, stuff like that. And next thing you know, we had the man or Batman or that man, Becky Lynch, who was doing the voice. And I was cracking up between these two because she was like in the Christian Bale voice, which kudos to her, because I'm sure she probably had to drink a lot of fucking water after that, because doing that voice, like your throat gets all scratchy and stuff afterwards. And then she has the accent and, yeah. So she was like, what's with the face paint? And he was like, it's exfoliating. What's with the voice? And she didn't answer it at all. She was like, I gotta go to the man cave. And he was like, I didn't know we had a man cave. She was like, you don't, because I'm the man. So I thought that was pretty good. And then I did see on YouTube that there is a lot more parodies that's coming. We have, which will probably be the little cutest thing, is Titanic with Montez Ford and Bianca Belair. We have Top Gun with The Miz and Maurice. And I feel like I'm forgetting some more. There's like 2 others, I believe. 2 or 3 others that is going to happen. But I'm all for it though. So next up, we had the mixed tag team match of Edge and Beth Phoenix going against the Judgment Day, which is Finn Bálor and Rhea Ripley, with that convicted felon, Dominic Mysterio. First of all, shout out to Beth Phoenix for the gear inspired by Bull Nakano. If you don't know who, I remember watching her wrestle, who is now known as Medusa, but back then she was known as Alundra Blaze. She was the first women's champion, but I mean, they had women's champion before, but then they brought it back in the 90s, and Alundra Blaze was the first women's champion. And truthfully, I wasn't really the biggest fan of Alundra Blaze. Like, they didn't have a lot of female wrestlers back then that was like actually wrestling. So, I was like, all right, I'm cool with her, but I thought Bull Nakano had like the coolest fucking look, because her hair had stood straight up, but she had the face paint. And she also and Beth Phoenix also kind of gave me a little bit of a Luna Vachon vibes too with that face paint, because Luna kind of did a little bit of that type of face paint, where it's like looked like the electricity that was going across the face. But yeah. And then we had Edge. I don't know what was going on with the hair. It definitely looked like a $5 haircut. It looked like it was like a comb forward or something like that. And then like the hair color was brown, and then like parts of his hair was still gray. It was something. This match was interesting. The convicted felon, first of all, Dominic, he had interfered. I think he was trying to pull Beth Phoenix from the top rope. He did it, and then he just fucking ran. So I was like, oh, I'm sure, your hard time in prison showed you that, know when to pick your fights, know who to run away from, and who you can fight. Because he ran the fuck out of there when he knew that Edge was coming after him. But he came back out. Of course, shout out to Rhea Ripley. There is no secret that I love Rhea Ripley. Once she is committed to the gear without no pants, which of course popped the hell out of everybody when she first did it. And now she's continuously doing it as well. But yeah, I am a big fan of Rhea Ripley. I talked about that, the watch along, because they mentioned like, oh yeah, she's your girl crush. I was like, look, I will take a nice hug for Rhea Ripley, and then she can clothesline me and put me in a leg lock or whatever it is. Whatever it is that's in her plans. If Rhea Ripley wins the title, I would love to be her Paul Heyman for free. Like, I will carry around the title and I will stare at her intently, just like Paul Heyman. And I'll count the hairs on her head. Like, I will look at her intently. Probably not as good as Paul Heyman because it's Paul Heyman. But I'll at least try to be up there as far as like looking intensely and passionately at the side of Rhea Ripley's head. I'm sure there's a lot of people that'll probably do that for free as well. My answer to that is get in line. But this was a pretty good match. It was a good match for the showing of the women. There was the spot where the men were on the top rope and Rhea Ripley and Beth Phoenix had powerbombed both men. Of course, Rhea powerbombed Edge. Beth powerbomb Finn. And then if the fight went to the outside, Rhea Ripley was going to slam Beth Phoenix's head with a chair on the stairs. Beth had reversed it, and she was able to do the glam slam on the floor. And then we get back to the ring, and Edge and Beth Phoenix did the FTR spot and won the match. So it was Finn Bálor who got pinned, which I kind of figured would have been something that happened. I knew, of course, Montreal would get their one win because we weren't getting it with Natalya. And I damn sure knew we were not going to get it with Sami Zayn. Sorry to those people out there. The match had some botches with it, but it was a fun match, you know. It was one of those matches that you could easily see happen at WrestleMania, but because we have Rhea Ripley going against Charlotte at WrestleMania, we are doing it here. It do seem like we are continuing this storyline with Edge and Finn Bálor, so I don't know if we're going to get the match with them again at WrestleMania, but that's what it feels like. Then we get to what I knew would be the match of the night, and that was the Elimination Chamber match for the U.S. title. So first of all, shout out to Montez with the fit. Obviously, Bianca Belair was the one who created his jacket and gear. The day that Bianca decides to retire from wrestling, I really need her to drop that fashion line, because she has some nice looks with her gear, and there's a couple of pieces that she wore outside of wrestling that she did herself, and I'm like, ma'am, you need to drop the fashion line. I need it. Damian Priest, first of all, shout out to everyone who was involved with this match, including people in the backstage, because we had Damian Priest looking like NXT Damian Priest, which popped me then. We had Seth Rollins and Johnny Gargano starting, which I was completely fine with. Priest was doing power moves and stuff like that. Bronson Reed, who I knew was good. I knew he was good when he was in NXT, when he first came to NXT. And unfortunately, then he was let go because, you know, Vince McMahon was letting people go and stuff like that. And then he went over to Japan, which he became Jonah, and now he is back as Bronson Reed. So good. I was just very happy that Bronson Reed and Johnny Gargano and even Montez Ford was getting the opportunity to really put on a great match in front of the crowd, because a lot of the casuals don't really watch NXT, so they're not familiar with Bronson Reed and Johnny Gargano. And unfortunately, the booking for these two weren't really the best so far. I mean, Johnny has been, with The Miz, and so is Bronson Reed. And it really didn't get a chance to really show, like, yo, this is why Johnny Gargano is called Johnny Wrestling. This is why Bronson Reed, should have won every damn title in NXT. Very, very good match. Of course, the craziest sequences I ever seen. I didn't even write them down because it was just like spot after spot after spot. And you know me, I love me a good spot fest. I love me a spot fest. Go crazy, motherfuckers. Like, if you are a high flyer, go for it. Do it safely, like, don't fuck yourself up, but go all out. There was the spot where there was a hurricanrana off the top of the pod. It looked like Johnny Gargano hit his head. I'm hoping he was, like, okay afterwards. Tez did the rock bottom, and then there was the crazy ass spot where Tez climbed to the top of the chamber, and he did like the Spider-Man flip and shit, and fell, did a splash from the top of the chamber. I had Montez Ford winning. A lot of people had Montez Ford winning. He was out here outworking everyone. Sorry, Christian. I know your slogan over in AEW is that you outwork everyone, but you did not outwork Montez Ford. Montez Ford was putting in the work. He was out here working, like Santa Claus working the 12-hour shift on Christmas Eve, yo. He was out here working it. I'm guessing, with this type of showing, it'll kind of put more people in with the thinking that he should be winning a singles title soon. Let's make it happen. But this was a pretty good match. We had Bronson Reed, who was eliminated first, unfortunately, but it took a lot for him to get eliminated. And it took 18 minutes for him to get eliminated. This whole chamber match took 31 minutes for the finish, and I loved every single minute of it because it was just so much craziness, and it was a bit, it was like a roller coaster. The sequences was like, it would go off, and then there would be a bit of a settlement so that the fans, so all of us can catch our breaths from time to time, and then it would just go from there. So then we had Johnny Gargano, who was eliminated next, unfortunately. Then we had Damian Priest, and then the surprise to me was that Montez Ford was eliminated fourth, which I'm like, damn it. More likely Austin Theory is going to retain, or they may just swerve it all over again and have Seth Rollins win here. However, when Montez Ford was eliminated, he was down. You saw the doctors come and everything. And then they opened the chamber door. And I was like, okay, we're going to have somebody come out here. And who was it? No one other than Logan Paul, who came in, I believe he did a curb stomp to Seth Rollins. And then Austin Theory went to pin Seth Rollins, 1, 2, 3. And Austin Theory retains the title, which I'm very surprised about. I thought that Austin Theory would lose here because, of course, the thinking is that he will be going against John Cena. And that match really do not need the United States title because it's John Cena. It's Peacemaker. You don't need a title in order to promote that match. So I don't know if that match is going to be for the title, or we may see Austin Theory lose the title between now and then. It could be very simple that Austin Theory has a match the day that John Cena is supposed to show up. Maybe Austin Theory cuts a promo, has the match, and then John Cena comes out, or, his theme music plays, and then it distracts Austin Theory long enough for him to lose the title. And then we kind of go from there. John Cena versus Austin Theory really don't need a title. However, Austin Theory has been doing a hell of a job as far as United States champion. Booking right now is a hell of a lot better before Triple H had came through. Very much in play, sort of no, he wasn't exactly the same that he was in NXT. Because in NXT, he was a bit of a comedy relief, but he was, he played off with Johnny Gargano. In this one, he's like a bit more serious heel and everything like that. And so I definitely am, I cannot wait to see what's going to happen. Especially how Austin Theory will, come out of this matchup between him and Cena. So then we get to the main event. We have Roman Reigns going against Sami Zayn. Now, this match was pretty crazy. We had, first of all, Roman Reigns coming out first, taking his sweet ass time coming out. Paul Heyman looking intensely at the Tribal Chief. The crowd booing the hell out of Roman Reigns, of course, because it's pro Sami crowd chanting "fuck you, Roman." That crowd was letting us know that WWE actually does have a mute button. We knew that they love to turn down the volume and they love to play, sounds on top of the crowd. They were showing us like, nah, we got a mute button. Even though this is a premium live event on Peacock, we don't play these games, and we can't have the word "fuck you, Roman" to play. Even though I'm a little confused because we definitely had the fuck you Roman chants after the Royal Rumble. But I'm guessing that someone had a talk with WWE and suddenly we can't have those chants anymore. So Roman Reigns comes out, and it was a bit of a time before Sami Zayn came out, and he came out to his original theme, and he didn't dance or anything like that. He came out, the crowd popping and going crazy. It felt like CM Punk in Chicago, and he came out, kissed his wife and stuff like that. The opening moments of this match was chef's kiss because there was nothing. Both men were standing there just letting the crowd tell the story. So you see Sami Zayn get a bit of emotional, stuff like that. Like he did on SmackDown, he got a bit of emotional as well. And it was just a great moment for Sami Zayn. At this point, people are wanting Sami Zayn to go against Roman Reigns again at WrestleMania. And, it kind of reminds me of moments like Cesaro or things that organically happen, even though this was from what I remember with Sami Zayn, the storyline with Sami Zayn and the Bloodline wasn't actually supposed to get to this point. They were actually going to stop it at a certain point, but decided to keep it going, which was, of course, a great decision. But, I just love moments like this where a story kind of takes you through the emotions and you kind of get lost in it all. This was such a great moment for Sami Zayn. Who would have thought when he was doing the conspiracy theories and stuff like that, that he would have ended up, or, especially a year ago when he was having the match against Johnny Knoxville, that he would turn around and there'll be a demand for him to main event WrestleMania the next year. Craziness. But this was a great match, storyline wise. I said, I love my spots, but I love my stories too. And I love when stories are told through wrestling. Of course, I was a fan of Bret Hart versus Owen Hart. The story that was told during that match at WrestleMania 10. But this was the great opening moments with, there was no wrestling, but it was just the crowd going crazy. And that had to been for a good, I would say maybe 5 minutes tops, where there was just no wrestling. It was just Roman Reigns and Sami Zayn just standing in the ring, just taking it all in. It was a great sequence, great match and everything like that. It was to the point that kind of I knew that Roman Reigns was going to win, but there was a few times that, it was they're not going to pull that off, right? Especially with the crowd, the crowd and how crazy it is. And it's will Triple H, feed into the hometown crowd, which is something that WWE usually don't do. They usually don't feed into the hometown crowd and have the hometown hero win. And there was a few sequences where it made you feel like that was something that could happen. And, seeing this match, truthfully, kind of to piggyback on something I said on last episode, we really didn't need that type of Sami Zayn and Cody promo where Sami Zayn was like, do you think I can do it? And it's this match kind of showed it there. No, you shouldn't have had doubts of if you can do it, because it's you attacked the tribal chief yourself with the members of the bloodline in there. And now here you are in the middle of your hometown, your home country, and you have so many people behind you, and you have the strength in there. Sami Zayn during that match didn't wrestle as if it was someone who was I think I can defeat Roman Reigns. He was wrestling his ass off. And that's why I feel you really didn't need that Sami Zayn promo thing. Truthfully, I feel as though it was more for Cody to still be put in a good place with the fans as the person who's going to go against Roman Reigns at WrestleMania versus, having him overshadowed by the fans wanting Sami Zayn to go against Roman Reigns. For Cody to kind of give that bit of a you got it, guy. You got it. Well, not you got it, son, but you got it, pal, to Sami Zayn, and kind of have the fans rally behind him to kind of I don't know. It feels kind of save face, Because there's like this is a weird thing that's going on, especially after that match, like I said, of people wanting Sami Zayn instead of Cody to go against Roman Reigns at WrestleMania. But there were spots where the ref went down. We had Jimmy Uso come out and tried to help Roman Reigns win the match. And then the ref went down the second time, and then we had Jey Uso show up. And Jey was standing in between Roman Reigns and Sami Zayn. Roman Reigns had the chair, and then he handed the chair to Jey Uso. A repeat, a trial, a test that he went through with Sami Zayn that he had Jey Uso do as well. And Jey Uso, had the chair, and Roman Reigns once again turned his back to Jey Uso. Bit of a power move, in my opinion. It felt like Jey Uso was going to hit Roman with the chair, and then Roman took the chair and started mugging Jey Uso and stuff. And Sami Zayn went for the spear, and he speared Jey Uso instead, and then Roman Reigns went to town with the chair. You didn't see Jey Uso after that, so we don't know, if the aftermath of Jey Uso is going to now turn on Sami Zayn because, hey, you speared me. I don't care if it's by accident or something like that. And then, of course, the ref wakes up at the perfect time to count 1, 2, 3, and Roman Reigns retains again. Now, this was, like I said, a very great match. I knew that Roman Reigns was going to walk into WrestleMania with the titles, even though I love it when we know what the finish is. We know, like, who's going to win, but it gives you those moments of doubt during the match. Like, Roman Reigns could not win this. And I like that because it keeps you, still keeps you on your toes, that you're not just waiting for the match to end because you know who's going to win it. But I do find it kind of weird that people are like not understanding why Sami Zayn didn't win the match. And it's like, bro, Roman Reigns had held these titles for over 700 days. And with WWE, 9.99 times out of 10. Big title reigns and stuff like that, and big moments happen at WrestleMania. We all knew that Roman Reigns, if he were to lose these titles, he would lose it at WrestleMania. He wouldn't lose it at the premium live event before WrestleMania. That makes zero sense. When you have WrestleMania in Hollywood for 2 nights, and you're going to have the person who held titles for over 700 days lose it the month before? He had both titles. I can see if Roman Reigns only held one of the titles, if he held the Universal or the WWE Championship, then I could say, yeah, Sami Zayn should have won. However, he has held both titles. There hasn't been a top champion of the company for over 700 days. And you seriously think that was going to change hands on a non-WrestleMania premium live event? No. The reason why Sami Zayn did not win at Elimination Chamber, because the storyline doesn't call for it to happen at the Elimination Chamber. The story of Roman Reigns and the bloodline ends at WrestleMania, because that's how WWE is set up. Yes, there are times where WWE will pull a title change before WrestleMania. It has happened before, but we have never had someone hold both titles of the company for over 700 days and has defeated pretty much everyone on the roster and have that person change titles before the pay-per-view. I know things were set up perfectly, that we were in Montreal, we were in Canada, and Roman Reigns was going against a very popular Sami Zayn, and we have Cody coming up at WrestleMania, and then we could easily, rewrite the story and have Sami Zayn win the title and stuff like that. And it's like, okay, let's go from here. Okay, if Sami Zayn was to win these titles, then what? He go against Cody Rhodes, and you expect Cody Rhodes to lose? everybody has been calling for Cody Rhodes to take down Roman Reigns since Cody Rhodes left due to injury. Everyone has been talking for Cody to become the one, the one in 701. You know what I mean? Well, not 700. Well, no. That came out wrong. But you know what I mean. I tried to do the Paul Heyman Undertaker promo thing. But Cody Rhodes will be the one who would defeat Roman Reigns after 700 days. You are sitting here telling me that you're going to have Sami Zayn win these titles and only hold it for a little over 30 days? After all this shit that has happened with him in the bloodline and his popularity rise and everything like that, you want him to hold the title? You want him to be the transition champion and protect Roman Reigns? Or you want him to keep the titles and have this whole shit with Cody Rhodes winning be all for nothing? Truthfully, it could be very well. People just need to wait. Because, yes, WWE sometimes make questionable decisions with their booking. However, I have learned to just hold on and wait a moment before I make, any, hoopla about anything. Even though I just did complain about Omos versus Brock Lesnar and Bray Wyatt. I swear I can talk. Bray Wyatt and Bobby Lashley. However, I feel as though with this, let's just wait and see how this all plays out. It could very well be, they can be as crazy as to have Roman Reigns retain the titles at WrestleMania, defeat Cody Rhodes, retain the titles, and then we revisit this situation with Sami Zayn and have Sami Zayn win at a different pay-per-view. I believe Money in the Bank is supposed to be over there. No, that's overseas. I don't think they're going back to Canada anytime soon. I forgot Money in the Bank is going to be I think it's the UK. But we can have Sami Zayn win at a SummerSlam or something like that, or at a premium live event that may be held in Canada at some point this year. We don't know. But all you motherfuckers that was riding the Cody Rhodes train, stay on it. If you're riding the Cody Rhodes train, that means no matter who Roman Reigns goes against between then and WrestleMania, he is going to defeat them so that Cody Rhodes can take the titles off of him. So yes, that includes your precious Sami Zayn. He's going to have to be in the loss column because the one and only Cody Rhodes is the one who's going to take the titles from Roman Reigns. They already had set it up with, there could only... I forgot the beginning of his interest. There's more than one royal family. That's the story that Cody is going with. Hey, I come from a royal family as well. Even though your family is a hell of a lot bigger than my family and has more Hall of Famers and a well-known, wildly popular movie superstar. You know what I mean? I think people just need to calm down from it. And then, as we are getting the beatdown of Sami Zayn, after the match, out comes Kevin Owens, who came in and stunned everybody. I am still not over the fact that we have the stunner being done by somebody other than Stone Cold Steve Austin. I'm still not used to it. KO came out and stunned everybody, which leads to Monday Night Raw, where Sami Zayn came out and, had Kevin Owens come out. And he thought that they can kiss and make up. And KO was looking at him like, bitch, you kicked me in my fucking face during War Games. I could have had the win. You stopped the ref. And then you kicked me in my face. And you had me pinned. And then you went and celebrated. I don't forget that shit. Don't think we're going to get the tag team match just yet. Because we're still trying to figure out Jey Uso and what's going to happen with Kevin Owens. Kevin Owens still isn't really over forgiving Elias for everything, for driving him crazy with the Elias Ezekiel thing. So I'm like, I don't know how much more forgiving KO will be about the whole situation with Sami Zayn. It's like, bro, you wanted to be with the cool kids, and then you realize that the cool kids are a bunch of assholes, and now you want to be friends with me again. That's literally the storyline of a lot of Disney movies. And so I don't blame KO for saying no, I'm here for me. You do your thing. I'm trying to do my thing. And then afterwards, very randomly, Baron Corbin attacks KO. And I'm like, okay, Baron Corbin needed something to do. I guess he's waiting around for the Andre the Giant battle memorial or something like that to come along before he does something. But I was like, this is just very, very random. Coming back to the Bloodline, definitely one of the best book storylines in a while. And I'm very interested to see where we have. I am really hoping that this situation, now I am with people of hoping that the situation with Sami Zayn isn't like completely stopping because of Cody Rhodes, that we can have the Bloodline storyline and the Cody Rhodes storyline to happen at the same time. We have someone with 2 belts, we can do it. I don't think we're going to get Sami on night 1 and Cody on night 2, like a lot of people are saying, because they have yet to mention that they're going to split up the belts. They could easily split up the belts though, and have Cody win 1 and Sami Zayn win 1 as well, and then we just go back to that would kind of bring it back to the brand split, which we kind of somewhat doing, not really doing anyway. I'm not that excited for if Cody wins both belts that this motherfucker comes out every Monday and Friday cutting the promo and sitting there saying, well, what do you guys would like to talk about? Please do not get me started on that. So I'm hoping maybe they split the belts, kind of like turn things up a bit. As much as I love the whole Bloodline and things like that, I just would want someone to be at the top and not just have one person be at the top, especially for as long as it's been, because then things get bottleneck. I do enjoy the fact that the IC title and the United States title are definitely more important because of this. But the top, the climb to the top is like so not really crowded, but it's just you can get a bit bottlenecked a bit because you only have one champion, 2 belts, where we can have 2 champions, and it kind of gives people the opportunity to hold the belt versus having to defeat the one and only tribal chief in order to get a title chance. Because I still need Bobby Lashley to remember that he lost a title that he didn't technically lose. Or are we going through the Brock Lesnar syndrome all over again? Who knows? But we have SmackDown coming. We have, of course, the fallout with the Bloodline. What is Jey Uso going to do? An explanation of what the fuck is going on with Bray Wyatt and why are we randomly choosing Bobby Lashley and Brock Lesnar. And then, of course, the continued feud, I guess that we're going to start between Rhea Ripley and Charlotte Flair. And then we have to get to who's going to be in the Hall of Fame this year. Allegedly, Batista is supposed to be the headliner, which I guess would make sense because we have Guardians of the Galaxy coming out soon. And that allegedly is supposed to be, that might be like the last Guardians movie. And so that I was like, okay, that kind of makes sense that we're going to headline him for WrestleMania and, kind of tie in with the whole Guardians of the Galaxy. Which I think Guardians come out in March. I'm not 100% sure. I think it comes out the end of March. But I'm interested to see who will be coming into the Hall of Fame. Of course, there are some names that should definitely be in the Hall of Fame that's not in there. I was just hoping with the fact that Vince McMahon is no longer in charge that we could have done a little bit something with the Hall of Fame. Something similar to the NFL where there is a bit of a panel of people who chooses who could be in the Hall of Fame. Like you put in a pool of people who are eligible and then have people choose from there instead of, however it's done now. This is the first year that Vince McMahon is don't have a strong decision about it. And I would love for them to have some type of museum or something like that. They did show, I did see on YouTube, it was Tyler Breeze and Big E who was in the warehouse. Apparently there is someone who works at this big ass warehouse that has all this memorabilia. They have the limo that Vince McMahon has stepped in that got blown up. Like, they have a lot of shit in there. And I just wish, like, you guys do know, like, you have, like, such a big-ass moneymaker that y'all could have. Like, y'all can open up a museum, a Hall of Fame museum for WWE, and then for WrestleMania, you can just take some pieces that's not in the museum along with you and have a, the traveling thing as well. And you can also do it for the original Big Four, which was Royal Rumble, WrestleMania, SummerSlam, and Survivor Series, and have the traveling Hall of Fame. But you know how much money they can make with the Hall of Fame museum? Like, I would definitely go and check it out, of course. I guess they would put it up in Connecticut, where the headquarters is at. And they can even do, like, I was going to say, like, Body Worlds, but they can have it travel the U.S. with some pieces as well. Wrestling fans can be fickle, in the words of Bryan Danielson, or Daniel Bryan. And it would take one good time for some dumbass to try to steal something or pull some shit with it just for WWE to, like, shut that shit down. But I'm hoping not. For Elimination Chamber, definitely a great pay-per-view. Little disappointed at the finish of the Brock Lesnar Bobby Lashley. I understand why it happened. I just wish that we did it a little differently so that it stays a bit in character with Brock Lesnar. Like, Brock Lesnar has done a low blow before, but to do a low blow just to actually, like, get yourself disqualified, not really in par with his style. But like I said, overall, it was a very good pay-per-view. And that's it for the Wrestlebread podcast. Thank you so much for listening. You can follow me on Twitter at JDC137. That's JAYDE, the letter C137. You can also follow the podcast at Wrestlebread as well. Be sure to click the links in the bios for the Twitter, the Instagram, the Facebook, and the YouTube channel. Be sure to like and comment and subscribe to the YouTube channel as well. Let me know your thoughts about how you feel about the Elimination Chamber. Are you on the train where you feel as though Sami Zayn should win? And if you feel as though Sami Zayn should win, let me know how you're booking WrestleMania and going forward. Is Cody going to be losing the big moment at WrestleMania if Sami Zayn was champion? Or is Sami Zayn going to hold that damn belt for under 45 days or whatever? Let me know your thoughts. Keep an eye out on the YouTube since we have the WrestleMania coming up. With this WrestleMania, it will be the podcast's 4-year anniversary. It will also be my 39th birthday for WrestleMania 39. So be sure to follow me on the platforms to know what I'm planning on doing. I may do a live stream. I may do a watch along. I don't know what I'm going to do yet. We will see. I have to figure out all exactly what's going to happen. Because like WrestleMania, I celebrate my damn birthday for a whole ass week. So I have to figure out what the hell I'm doing for the week of my birthday. And I will let you know what's going on from there. But thank you so much for listening. And until next time, guys, peace.